this will be a huge recall for when I come back in the future to be able to find some of the answers that were true, were not true, some of the things that I will do and bring back to you. This is awareness documentation. Brah. All right. So today is actually quite, I can't say eventful day, but it's going to be a summary of the past 8-9 days, because today is Sunday, July 7th. We're listening to Dr. Dre for a moment there. And I happen to be at my friend Alex's house right now. But the really big thing is about all of this is that, the 28th, I was homeless, night one, right? And I was in a position where things were really not too great, to be honest. And, by changing a lot of the perspective from where I was viewing from, the second night of homelessness, I ended up getting put in jail. So shit went downhill very, 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 very fast. And God gave me a very specific lesson from all this that I was to take in. And through all of that, I didn't do anything wrong. I was innocent. And they gave me a resisting arrest charge. How this went down is basically I was going to a place where I was told that I was going to be able to live with them, but they weren't responding through text, right? So when they did respond, it was quite viciously shocking, so I wanted to pursue that and clarify how they were expressing themselves, because I didn't think it made sense. I didn't think it was right. So I showed up there to communicate and truly express myself so that we could be understood and live in harmony. And things didn't end up working out in that type of favor, obviously, because they talked to me through the windows, and then they closed the windows. And while I was watching the sunset, the cops showed up. They didn't even tell me why they were there. And, they asked me, what are you doing here, right? And I'm like, I just wanted to communicate, and truly communicate effectively to be understood, basically, is what I said. And then they didn't like my response. So they basically ended up cracking down on me by asking me for my ID. And I'm like, oh, well, my name's Michael. And I wanted to shake his hand, but he's like, I'll need your ID. And then he's like, turn around. Oh, well, I don't think that's necessary, officer. He's like, turn around. I'll just get going home. It'll be fine. And bam, smacked me against the window where there was these two metal poles crossing the window. Boom, boom, boom. And then he put a cuff on my right arm, and then he started pulling really hard on my left. And when he started pulling really hard on my left, we all know that I have health challenges, and there's like so much tissue in my back here. It's like red rolls in between my shoulder blades, and my entire left side of my body is very sensitive to these types of movements. So when he moves it back and against the rotation that my spine has naturally gone into, like this way, everything hurts and at an intense level of pain. So I wanted to, try and avoid that. So, I ended up getting hurt, and, I didn't want him to hurt me anymore. So, I changed my posture because my bags were in front of the window. And I took like half a step back with my left leg because the bag was right in front of me, in front of the bars and the window and the wall and everything. And then I turned the other part of my body, and, he's just hurting me like, hey, you stop that, blah, 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 whatever. And I'm just like, hey, man, you're hurting me, dude. Like, and it transitioned really fast because he started really pulling on my body in very painful ways. So I didn't want to give him, my left hand naturally. Like, the immediate reaction is to not get hurt. So I'm doing everything I can to not get hurt. So I throw myself onto the ground, and in so doing, because there was something that he was doing to my shoulder that was really messing it up, and it's painful because this is a little hard to recall, but it's still clear. You know, it was like 9 days ago. Remember, and because all the bags were in the way, and I couldn't like, you know, get everything taken care of immediately. And he wasn't stopping, and his other friend was, you know, messing me up too. Um, I threw myself to the ground so that I could avoid all that stuff, and you know, um, in so doing, he ended up putting his knee in my back and pulling my right shoulder like this or something like that. And you know, I'm surprised that my rotator cuff didn't like snap or something, because if I were any other person, I think they'd have that problem. Like I think they'd be done in pretty good. But me, I have a very strong body, so I ended up being okay. But I was like, you know, these guys were fucking hurting me, dude. And you know, I ended up giving him my hand after I got on the floor, because you know, I'm trying not to turn, because if I put anything behind my shoulder like this, it fucking hurts. It fucking hurts. There's so much tissue that's just being spliced and sliced and fed up and stuck, and you know, my shoulder blade's crushing on top of that. It hurts a lot. So I can't do that motion naturally. Like I can't lift this shoulder up and back like that. Otherwise it just hurts a lot and it cuts off all the circulation. This is the natural posture, like my shoulder's thrown over. So that was just my immediate reaction to all this. And they ended up hurting me even more, and you know, having me walk like this as high as it went with the handcuffs up and my head down, and they were like lifting me up like that, and I had to walk down the stairs like that. I was like, why can't we just walk like humans together? You know, like you don't. They were like, you don't deserve that. Oh, you know, like, oh, it's necessary now that we're here to put handcuffs on you. Or it was a bunch of bad shit, man. A bunch of bad shit and police brutality. I didn't do anything, you know? I didn't do anything. I was innocent, and they just came out of nowhere and started fucking me up. Excuse my language. It's not okay. So after getting in the car, or after being banged against the car and strip searched and then taking everything, they went back and got my bags after I was seated. And they looked through all my stuff and my devices, recording devices, like I have a voice recorder. And they messed everything up, man. They messed everything up. When I opened my bags after getting out, 3 days later, everything was messed up. They even took some stuff. So, in all of this, the 3 days, nights that I spent in there, I'd have to say it was the 29th. It was a Saturday night around, you know, between 8 p.m. When this all happened. I was in there Saturday night, Sunday night, what must have been Monday night, and then Tuesday was court. So I went to court, and there were some guys. I mean, by the way, you know, jail food's very bland. It's not too great. Everything was microwaved. I mean, we had, like, for breakfast, we had, you know, potatoes. We had these over-seasoned sausages, very salty, and pancake sandwiches. There was another day that they happened to switch the pancake sandwiches over to French toast, but then the following day, it ended up being pancake sandwiches again, and they're microwaved. It's all microwaved in this plastic package, and then there's plastic packaging within plastic packaging, like the pancake sandwich, which was disgusting. I never ate that one, actually. I avoided it at all costs, and then I tried not to drink the milk, because I basically, you know, committed to not drinking milk, since there's, you know, I'm homeless, you know, why bother? And things changed. Things changed because I ended up drinking milk. Because it was being served every day, dude, and it's like a main portion of your meal. It's not like you can eat cornflakes without milk every day. And then your other meals, they give you milk too, or orange juice. Um, they had like a green beans, and they had peas, carrots, corn, this type of vegetable mix that was in with there as well. And this, I wouldn't quite call it chili, but it was like red beans and rice, I think is what it was labeled as the main food. And as another option, they also had spaghetti, which was very bland too. Very similar. I think it was pretty much the same stuff that was in the sides. And you get like a pack of 2 cookies and or some sort of bread. Like what banana bread is. It's not that, but it's the closest thing I could relate it to. Is like this stick of bread that was sweet, cinnamon bread or something. I don't know. But basically, the food wasn't great, and that's just what you have to deal with. You sit in a cell for 24 hours every day, and there's a toilet which has a sink above it, like on top of the toilet. It's the same thing. It's the same unit, and then you push a button and it shoots out like a fountain, kind of like this. You push a button, right, and that's where you drink from, right above the toilet seat. Or there is no toilet seat; it's an open toilet, so you get to smell piss or whatever the frick is in there. And the room has white walls. You get 2 blankets. And there's a lot of rules, like you can only eat for 20 minutes, brush your teeth for 10 minutes. I only did that once because all the other guards wouldn't give me a toothbrush. Only one did, Officer Pacheco. There was Officer Paulo, Officer Valos Morgules, Officer Scovald, who was the main officer arresting me. But, I thought Officer P. Nambo was the main guy, but apparently not. But both of them were very abusive, and just all this was bad. All this was real bad. So that's what ended up happening when I got out. I went to court. They drove us in this van. There were like 5 of us that went that day, and then probably like another 5 girls, which I didn't really get to see. In the other side of the van. So when we got out, we were brought together through the courthouse in chain linked, by 3s, basically chain linked handcuffs, and we had to all be brought into this room, which was basically there was like an agreement between all parties who were there that it was called the ice box because it was the Inglewood courthouse, and all the criminals go into this ice box because there's like an air conditioner that's really really cold in this room with gray walls, and then it's all cement, by the way, and then the benches all around this are part of the gray walls, and they're solid cement too, so it's freaking cold in there. And then there's a metal door with a little telephone that is in between the exit, and 2 windows that you can open up and see the people talking like attorneys to people. So they were on the watch very often. And it was just really interesting to get peanut butter and jelly, in which case we got 2 pieces of bread and peanut butter, which you squeeze out of this plastic wrap tube. Basically, you tear it open, squeeze it out. So you could do this, and it gets all warm, and then it comes out smoother. And then there was apple jelly. So that was probably the best thing they were saying you could eat before you go to prison. You won't be getting no peanut butter for a week or another 2 weeks or something. There was this one guy who called himself Buddy, but he went by a different name. Started with a C. It was like Cerise or something, but not Cerise. Cess, something like that. And he'd been in and out of jail for 50 times. And then there was this other guy named Can't quite think of his name right now. But basically, there were two OGs who had been in and out, and there were some other convicts who had been through a lot of shit, and then there were other young ones like us, and we were all just talking for a while. They were saying all their shit, talking about court. That was the main thing. One guy, Ivan, I ended up talking to and bonding with a bit, but not after all of this. Talk about me being 21 Jump Street because I wanted to sit in front of the guy who'd been in 50 times and be like, tell me all that you know. Because I want to pick his brain, man. Give me all your street knowledge that I don't have. And basically he's like, oh, you don't need to know what I know. And then he ended up coming back around the conversation like, you want to know what I know, but you won't listen to me. So he reframed it and made me the bad guy. And then he wouldn't listen to any of the other shit I said. And then when I told him I was a performer, and then I added on all these things like, oh, well, I also have health challenges. And he's like, oh, you're just making a bunch of excuses, da-da-da-da-da-da. So basically, and then, he called me out, why don't you perform then? I'm like, oh, yeah, I can freestyle, is what I told him. So I tried a couple times, but it didn't end up working out. So they didn't really believe me, and they thought I was a phony, basically. So he's like, oh, I'm good on that. Like, no, I'm cool with you. I don't want to talk to you, basically. And I guess all the rest of the room was pretty much like that until it got to the point where it was the young ones, and we started talking. Ivan I bonded with and talked about him and how he lost his brother to a drug addiction. And he was the one who told him to do a different drug. I think it was heroin. Instead of doing heroin, he did something else, or the opposite, and he ended up doing heroin, and he died because of it, so he feels guilty, he's depressed. We talked about that. And, just like, all the other guys were in there for other reasons. I spoke to my attorney. We went in and out of the court, which took hours, by the way. We were there from, 11 till 5, or 6:30 or something. We didn't have that much time. But when we finally got out, it was more like 5 because the courthouse closes at 5. Took the bus, which brought myself back to the original place where I got picked up and beaten and handcuffed. It didn't take me back there. I had to walk back there. On the bus, I met Leisha, who's a female rapper. She still hasn't texted me back. So I never put her in my phone book because I only do that if they reply. I picked up my bike, rode it back, wanted to get my stuff out of jail because they kept my stuff, my big duffel bag and my green backpack with the straps broken off from 1 to 2 nights of one night of homelessness. The straps broke off already. The bag's pretty heavy. It's a cheap bag, I guess. The school gave it to me for free. And, I had to hop on a bus and go home. Actually, I didn't go home. I went to my friend Pasha's house, in which case, I came really late. So I asked them for help, basically. They couldn't help me or give me a place to stay. So what they did end up doing was taking me to a hotel room and paying for a couple nights there. So I stayed there. I got mold poisoning the first night, and I didn't realize it when I was doing my tasks throughout the day. When I woke up, I was extremely weak. It was a days in, and I was extremely weak. My eyes were all crusted over with, eye boogers. It was really bad, and my eyes were extremely bloodshot and red. And I was just so weak. I was fighting to keep my eyes open. Looking at a screen was absolutely unbearable. It was terrible. I could not do it. It's like my eyes were trying to fail me, so was my body. And I kept on going in and out, but, the last time I went in after going to this coffee shop, which is called Or Veganic. It's a pretty nice place, but it's got a bad location. It's not up front by the street side, and it should be. It really should be, because if they did, they would have a lot more business, but it's in this, alley area in the back where you have to go back around, which sucks. They'd be getting so much more business if they were up front. They had good vegan stuff and coffee, but the lowest price thing they have is $4 for coffee. So it's like, oh my gosh, for a regular Americano, you know. But everything there was vegan. It was cool. You know, after coming back from there, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. Like, I literally couldn't breathe going into this thing, this hotel room. So I had to come back out and switch rooms, change things around, because I wasn't okay with that. And from there, you know, I wanted to use the hot tub and stuff, but some guys were in there. And, you know, that just brought me all the way circle around to the next day, where I basically, you know, took before 12, before clocking out of the hotel, in the second room to refresh myself, prepare. I had been invited for the 4th of July to hang out with some friends that I hadn't seen in a long time. And by long time, I mean like 2 to 2.5 years I hadn't seen these guys, because I used to hang out with them. And it was actually a group of friends from high school. So these groups of friends were stoners. I used to hang out with the stoner crowd. And we had some fun. You know, we had a little bonfire in Dockweiler Beach. It was pretty cool because, you know, when we got together like that, we had a barbecue on the stuff too. I mean, the photos are kind of silhouetted, but from this you can see, you know, we got some cool people here. So here's me. Well, they're silhouetted, so I won't tell you who's in here, but, you know. A professional photographer took these photos. Not these ones, but the other one, the other 3, with my phone. And there's a video of Max getting tackled. So that's cool. So yeah, we had fun there. And then I was able to get a ride over to this place where I'm staying at now, in which case the 4th of July was Thursday. So I had Friday and Saturday. That was the past 2 days. Today happens to be Sunday. Currently it's 10:59 a.m. and I'm staying at my friend Alex's house, in which case I'm in the garage right now. And, you know, just hanging out, been working a little bit. He's been playing his music when he comes out, and having some friends over every once in a while, like Adam. And Max and his girlfriend Kiana came over, and we had a barbecue yesterday. Alex happens to be dating Maddie, and situation is, you know, I've got to get out of here. I think today, Sunday's my last day, and I don't necessarily know the specific agreement that it came down to with that. But in particular, I was told that I have until Sunday. So I don't know if he meant, you know, I get to stay Sunday night and I leave Monday morning, or I have to be out of here and I go sleep on the streets on Sunday night. But I haven't been able to get a place other than with Alex. You know, there's been no permanent place to stay for me, no temporary except for here. And that's just for the weekend for 3 nights. So, you know, it's been really helpful for sure. I appreciate everything you've done for me, Alex. But I did speak with, you know, the old Pastor Randolph, his wife, Johanna, and we had a conversation about her taking me in for a night on the 4th of July, which ended up falling through. And because that fell through, I was able to go hang out with them because it was on condition catch-22. If I go sleep over there, I probably can't stay or have a good time on the 4th of July. But that fell through because she ended up spreading news that I told her, and she spread false news. So it went through the church, and it went to my dad, and my dad happened to speak with my mother, so they coordinated, they double-teamed on me. and my mother got word of me telling lies to Joanna and all this crazy shit about, getting. Um, I don't even want to talk about it because like I don't even own a car. So there was so many things that were off, and there was this whole story that just came back around. I'm like, yeah, mom, you're talking to me. Why don't you just ask me the questions? Because you're speaking with me directly. She just blasted me with a ton of bullshit. So, of course, I wasn't accepting of that. And because of that, I don't know if I'm going to have a place to stay after tonight. Hopefully, something works out. Hopefully, not with my parents, but if it does, then I can tolerate that for a little bit. But they probably want money because they just got this lease for an apartment or some sort of place. It's not like the place that they used to stay at. They got a new lease for it, but they've only been there for a month, right? So because they've only been there for a month, adding another person's kind of tricky. There's 3 people there. I don't know how many bedrooms, but I would think it's not an option unless if I go get a job or whatever they want. My mother just will not stop persisting. Like, I'm telling her I'm working, I'm doing my thing. I am working for the world. So my brother's talking to me and stuff through text, probably collecting information, telling me he feels bad, like he wants to do something, But, I just, I don't know, man. I don't know what's gonna happen tonight. I might be homeless again, or maybe the homie Brian will come through and let me stay at his place for a few nights, or until I get on my feet, because he had to go through the same situation, leaving his parents, and apparently now he works in security, and I haven't seen him for a while, but he reached out to me a little while ago asking for my help, because he liked what I was doing. So I'm curious to know if he wants to improve, and if he wants to improve and I get to stay with him, I get to work with him on his personal development for a little bit, like a month, and get on my feet, have my business succeed, get my own place, or work a job and have my business succeed over a little bit more time. Because a part-time job is all I need, really, to get this place that I want to stay, which is basically artists' housing. There's this studio, there's a music studio, and all this different stuff that artists would use, basically, actors, whatever, that you can be able to use at this place. So you get your own room, I think, and then you share the studio equipment. And if I can do that, that would be cool, because, I could use that. Michael Earth Osada on the mic, we gon' hit it down tonight. That would be fun. I can see that happening. So it's only $550 a month for rent for the apartment, and then utilities, save like another $200 for that. The specific place that I want is $600 a month, because then I get access to the office, which is like a private office, basic furniture, and I think it's shared too. But it'd be better than not for an extra $50 for every day of the month if I want to do my own work at home. I think things could work out at this place. But right now, we need to focus on safety. We need to focus on getting shelter at the moment, not like super far out, and just live in the present, because otherwise we're going to be having some trouble getting along here, because, it's the 7th of July, and we do not have a place to stay after today. And shit could get really bad really fast. So I just realized I have a cup of noodles over there for the past 30 minutes, because I started this awareness documentation, now known as an ad walk number 7. And yeah, this is basically a catch-up and summary of the past week, because it's been pretty eventful. Maybe I'll go more in detail about what happened with the cops later. But I gotta go back to court, and they gave me 20-day notice before I go back to court. So we'll see how that goes. I gotta put that in my calendar, make it a priority. Because I'm, if the police show up, I'm gonna end up paying $1,000 fine for resisting arrest. If they don't, then I'm gonna keep getting OR'd until it's dropped. I just really hope I don't have a problem, man, because I can't afford it. So that's why I might need a job, you know. Pay that $1,000 fine. Fuck. I need my health, man. So when we get everything straightened out, we'll leave the country. But we need some money right now to invest in ourselves, okay?